Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Lyrically, I'm untouchable, uncrushable. Running in a 600, running in a 600. Untouchable, uncrushable. Running in a 600, running in a 600.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Punch to the Face Radio. I am your host, Brandon Stubbs. We'll be talking a little bit of everything here this week. We'll be talking some Oscar De La Hoya being batshit crazy, talking about fighting Conor McGregor. We will talk some Kodo Ali conference call that I was a part of today. As well, we'll talk some MMA and do some shaming to Bellator because, well, Bellator is doing Bellator things. But you can be a part of the show by calling in at area code 929-477-3165. You can also tweet me throughout the show at BrandonP2TF. As you can tell, my voice is a little bit better this week, so bear with me if I still cough a little bit, but feeling back to normal, back to the normal schedule. So what we want to do is start off the show by recapping last week's fights. And, last week we had Muramba on Saturday Night Boxing, also on Twitter as InBoxing. Make sure you give my buddy and co-host Adam a follow. We talked about, the big fight of the weekend was going to be Daniel Jacobs versus Luis Arias on HBO. It was Jacobs' first fight, a part of his new deal with Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn and their relationship now with HBO. And the fight sucked. Let's just call it what it was. It was a very anticlimactic fight. For 12 rounds, we saw Daniel Jacobs pretty much be a class ahead of Luis Arza, which is a shame because Arza talked a lot of the talk, had me believing that he had an opportunity to actually go out and do something special here on Saturday night, and nothing was there. It was far from it. It was a very disappointing outing by him here on Saturday night. So, it's I can't fault HBO because Arias had looked good in his last couple of bouts, especially he was a part of the Kovalev War Part 2 undercard. He looked pretty good there. So, they said, hey, we'll take a flyer out on him and give him an opportunity. But Saturday night, I can't make any excuses for him. He just didn't look like he belonged out there. And, I'm not trying to pile on the guy or be disrespectful to him as a guest on the show. But Daniel Jacobs showed he was just levels above him. It just didn't seem like Arias knew what to do. He didn't know how to make any adjustments. His shots that he did land didn't seem to have a lot of pop behind them to where he could really earn that respect of Daniel Jacobs for Jacobs to stop coming forward and attempting to walk him down. So, he loses a unanimous decision. And, his promoter, Rock Nation, pretty much tried to throw it out there like, some moral victory for him. That he went 12 rounds, one of the top middleweights in the world. In boxing, there are no moral victories. There really isn't. We can give someone credit for standing their ground and what have you, but to lose in such a dominating fashion, there's no moral victory there for him. I'm sorry. I just can't see anything there to where I can say, you know what, you did a good job of lasting 12 rounds. I can't do it. And I don't know where he goes from here, especially given his promotional contract with Rock Nation and Rock Nation pretty much being amongst the big names in boxing, the shittiest of amongst the group out there. So, they do such a very poor job and such a weird job. And now that they no longer have Andre Ward or Miguel Cotto to be the face of the company, they were hoping, Arias would win because that would be a major feather in their cap, but that didn't happen. So for him, I have no idea what's going to happen with him next. I have no idea when we'll see him again, if we'll see him on television, if we'll be back to fighting in, bingo halls and what have you. This is where he was fighting. That's one of his fights before he got an opportunity to be on the Kovalev War 2 undercard. So I wish him the best, but it just wasn't anything to where I think fans will be clamoring to see him on television again. Now, as for the winner, Daniel Jacobs is a little bit different. Now, Jacobs obviously would want Canelo. We would want a rematch with Triple G. I don't think that's anything boxing fans are dying to see, that rematch with him and Triple G. But you never know what can happen, given the fact of Canelo and Triple G have not, their negotiations haven't went well so far. And, right now, Daniel Jacobs plans on stalking and being at Billy Joe Sanders' Lemieux fight here in a couple of weeks. And he plans on sitting there ringside, and he wants the winner of that fight. That's the fight he's now eyeballing and looking at as being the most realistic fight for him to have next in the middleweight division. I can see that. I'm going to I can give him a fair chance, but what do you think his chances are against the winner of Sanders Lemieux? I think if I had to pick one, I think Lemieux would be the tougher opponent because Lemieux is the more harder puncher, and we know what Lemieux can do early on. And we've seen when Daniel Jacobs loses fights, it is early on, or when he gets knocked down, it's early on in these bouts. So I could see to where that could be a potential deterrent there for Lemieux. Saunders is a decent fighter. He's got good pop. He is a champion for a reason, but it's so many empty questions about Saunders, just how legitimate he is, and this Lemieux fight is going to be a good test for him in that regard, especially being exposed more to American audience. So, I give Jacobs a chance against either one. I think Lemieux would be the more interesting of the two, truth be told. I don't know if the Saunders fight would happen because he has a different promoter over there in the UK that particularly doesn't like working with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom Boxing. So from that aspect, I know if Jacobs wants a big fight and wants a title fight, he should be rooting for David Lemieux to win. So we shall see there in that regards for that. Now, also on that card was Darrell Big Baby Miller against Walk. I forget his first name. I think it's Marquez Walk or Vok. I think it's Vok. That's how it's enunciated. In a heavyweight tilt. This was actually an opportunity for a lot of people to actually see Darrell Miller for the first time. He's fought in a lot of smaller shows, fought on some showbox cards, a lot of undercard fights, nothing that I think the masses have seen him actually fight. So this platform on HBO was really a big deal for him to kind of make a splash and be show he can be a face and a name in a top heavyweight division where it's really just two guys that hold the titles, as we talked about last week, with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. So it was really important for Darrell Miller to make a splash and say, hey, this is my statement. I'm here. I'm in the heavyweight division. And he didn't. It was another ridiculously shitty bout. Miller came in 16 pounds lighter than his last fight, but he was still close to 300 pounds. Did not look like a heavyweight, a professional heavyweight fighter for that matter. Let me phrase it that way. It was nothing that, looking at him and looking how the fight went on, there's nothing about him to where I could say this guy is going to be a heavyweight champion. Nothing. And, again, not being disrespectful to the fighters, but, this was a showcase bout on HBO. This fight was set up for you to go out, lay hands, and knock somebody out in spectacular fashion and get your name buzzing. And what ended up happening is Monday morning, this fight was an afterthought. Miller looked sloppy. He had really no pop behind his punches. And the fight ended up only getting stopped when it did was because Vok had broke his hand. And Vok's corner, really 2 rounds prior to the fight being stopped, I want to say it was stopped in the 9th round. 2 rounds prior to that really should have stopped the fight when they could tell he was clearly in pain. He told him his hand was broke, and he was just laboring. So give Vok credit there. He pushed on really despite his corners, their ill-doing. They were doing more damage to the fighter than helping the fighter out. And that's what the corner's supposed to do, is help the fighter out, not get him hurt out there. And that's what was happening to Vok. He was eating shots, but none of the shots were really overpowering. I never really saw him fight him get rocked to where I was like, whoa, and he's hurt. never really happened. So, I don't know. The word is that, Miller is now going to be Anthony Joshua's opponent here for some time here, maybe late February or March, over there in the UK. So he's going to get that opportunity. It also helps that he's also promoted by Eddie Hearn, so Hearn keeps the money in-house for that fight as we build up to Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua at some juncture in 2018. So, that was the HBO card. Now, I'd be remiss if I also didn't give a shout-out to Cletus Selden, who I got ridiculously amounts of emails on from his promoter, Star Boxing. They're extremely proud of him. He won his opening bouts on the HBO portion of the card against, I forget the gentleman's name. I know his last name was Ortiz, I believe it was. And Selden went out and smoked him. He's not high on the skill level, but he's got a lot of heart, a lot of infighting, kind of a, as they kept on saying, a throwback to a fighter who, kind of an old school dirty fighter, if you will. We'll see him again on HBO. HBO sounded to be really impressed by him. He is a contender here at 140. But as you look at the rest of the fighters fighting at 140 pounds, I don't know if Cletus Selden is one of the guys they look at and say, whoa, okay, this is one of these guys who could really be a problem. It could be a contender there in that division. But with Terrence Crawford retiring, it leaves everything so wide open there at 140. So I don't know. He got a light start in boxing, so he kind of is what he is at this juncture. He kind of just is what he is. Very entertaining. Speaks well. People enjoyed watching that portion of his fighting. So, man, we'll see. I'm not sold completely on him doing major things in the lightweight, 140-pound division, but we'll see. Which kind of leads us into our next set of fights was here on ESPN, oddly enough, at the same time. So Jose Ramirez fought Mike Reed. And, last week, me and Adam agreed that we thought Mike Reed had a chance to actually just go out and win the fight, but get screwed on the cards. Well, we were completely and utterly wrong. Mike Reed ended up getting stopped in the second round. Now, the question is, was the stoppage too early? Mike Reed was up against the ropes. He did go down. The referee ended up stopping it when he was against the ropes there during the last barrage, saying he wasn't really intelligent in defending himself. I thought he was doing a good job of blocking the punches. A lot of them come through clean. But, on the same token, you also got to do something to show the ref that you're fighting back. You either got to clinch, throw a punch back. You got to do something. And that wasn't done by Reed, unfortunately. So the fight got stopped. Now, what it does for Ramirez, he now sets himself up for a vacant WBC 140-pound title fight against Amir Aman, who also was on the card as well Saturday night there in Fresno. He was a part of the undercard. So now that sets that fight up for the vacant title now that Terrence Crawford has moved up in weight. I'm not overly – Ramirez is a guy I think we still got to see a little bit more on. And I think Amir Aman is going to get probably squashed in this fight. I don't see much he can offer that's going to give Ramirez trouble. So Ramirez really is looking to be the WBC champion here in a few months. So I don't know, man. I don't know, man. The fight, the way it was stopped with Mike Reed, is hard to call. I got to say, give Mike Reed a lot of credit. He took the high road in regards to losing the fight and just said, he'll bounce back. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how he bounces back. It'll be interesting to see how Ramirez reacts to now, biggest win of his career, now getting into a title shot. Is he going to have a level head, excuse me, going into this? Or, with the stoppage, the way he stopped Mike Reed, does he think he's just going to steamroll Amir Aman the same? Time will tell. When that fight will get done, I'm assuming we'll probably see at some juncture here, first quarter of next year, and you would assume it will be on ESPN with Top Rank Steel. Miriam is promoted by Don King, so there's that. You never know with Don King. Strange shit can tend to happen. So we'll see, but that now sets that up there for the WBC championship between Ramirez and Amman. Now, the main event of the night was, it wasn't even the main event. It was the opening bout of the card. Was kind of interesting. Artur Beterbiev versus Enrique Calling, I think they didn't say Calling. It was boring. This is all what it is. Artur Beterbiev went out and for 11 rounds subsequently put on a boxing clinic. Just very meticulous, very workmanlike, just went out and did his job. He went out and just boxed. So, it didn't do much for us. A lot of us were watching both fights, flipping back and forth between ESPN and HBO, and we're not impressed by what we were watching because Beterbiev was on the same time as the Daniel Jacobs fight. So we were not all that impressed by what we were watching. It was not fun, not enjoyable at all. And, 12th round comes, and boom, he knocks him out. This knocks out Calling and finally gets the stoppage that we were praying would come earlier. We had to sit through 11 rounds to get. So, this begs the question, is Artur Beterbiev the best boxer at 175? You can make that legit argument for him right now. He went out and like I said, he did a very workmanlike performance there against Calling. He didn't do anything out of the norm. He didn't put himself in any added risk in there. He just went out and just workmanlike, just beat him up and punched and boxed for 11 rounds, before finally getting the stoppage in the 12th. Now, the problem is, what will this do for his popularity? Will people want to see him fight, on a large platform? More importantly, as we and Adam had talked about last week, he's still got promotional issues he's still trying to work out with he was at Yves Lavone, or forget what the gentleman's name is, a promoter up in Canada. He's still got that issue to work out. We know Top Rank is courting him. They won the purse bid for this fight that happened here this past Saturday night. So we know people are interested in him, but, is he going to be a big draw? But with him having a title and now a completely wide open light heavyweight division, the sky's the limit for him. You just never know. With this division being what it is now, with no Andre Ward, with us waiting to see what sort of shape mentally and physically Sergey Kovalev is going to be in here when he fights next week, we just don't know what kind of version of him we're going to get. Got Adonis Stevenson and Badu Jack out there. You got a lot of interesting names still out there floating around. Then you have Alexander Gustak, probably mispronouncing that, but he's an Olympian, 2012 Olympian, 14-0 from the Ukraine. He's one of Lomachenko's homies. So you don't know with him when he's going to, if he's that guy. You got Sullivan Barrera out there as well. It's a lot of names, a lot of people there at 175 to where it's just wide open. Maybe the most wide open division in boxing going into 2018, as we said last week. And now Beterbiev holds a title, so now that gives him a little bit higher ranking amongst those guys. So we'll see how that works out for Beterbiev in 2018. Let's hope his promotional issues don't hold him back from doing big things in the division. So that recaps here the fights here from last weekend. Like I said, it really wasn't spectacular. It wasn't great. It was pretty boring, truth be told. And to kind of give you a heads up on what we're going to have happen here this week in regards to boxing, and then I'm going to get on some rants here to close the show. We got some fights here on here. So if you listen to the show live, Thursday night here, November 16th, Golden Boy will have a card live from Cancun, Mexico. That'll go down here on ESPN Deportes. It'll be tape delayed on ESPN2. On November 17th from Flint, Michigan. Excuse me. So Friday night, there'll be a card on Fox Sports 1 from PBC where Anthony Darrell looked to get back to his winning ways and getting himself back in the super middleweight title talk. He'll be facing Dennis Dublin on the main event from Flint, Michigan. So he's fighting there in his home state of Michigan. That, like I said, that's going to be on Fox Sports 1. Also on the card, Ryan Cowboy Carl. He's fighting really the only name of note that a lot of boxing fans may be familiar with. So that's on Friday night. Then Saturday night, we have a very odd card. Just call it what it is. I honest to God, had no idea this fight was happening until I saw a tweet about it Saturday during the other fights. I had no idea Julian J. Rock Williams was fighting Ishe Smith Saturday. No clue whatsoever. And unfortunately, no one else seems to know and probably won't get to watch it because it's on Bounce TV. So Saturday night on Bounce TV, Julian J. Rock Williams versus Ishe Smith, a 154 division. Really, it's a must-win for either guy to stay relevant. I couldn't tell you the last time Ishe Smith fought. I do know Julian Williams fought here earlier this year. He had a fight. He rebounded after losing, getting knocked out. One of the Charlo brothers. Forgive me because I get them confused. So he's rebounded from that. He's gotten a win underneath his belt. But this is only going to be his second fight here of 2017. And for Ishe Smith hasn't fought at all in 2017. He's only last fought here in 2016 where he won a majority decision over Frank Galarza. That was in September. So it's going to be over 14 months since the last fight for Ishe Smith. At his age, you kind of got to wonder, what's left in the tank. He's 39 years old. You having that long of a layoff in between bouts, not good. So that's on Bounce TV. You have Earl Newman versus Linnell Thompson. Linnell Blows is also on the card, another guy from Mayweather Promotions. So that's on Saturday here on television in the States. And if you live over across the pond, shout out to all my UK listeners and followers. We appreciate the love here on Punch to Face Radio. Carl Frampton, he'll be facing Horacio Garcia in a 10-round featherweight bout. It's a stay busy fight here for Frampton. Waiting to see what happens with Leo Santa Cruz or if he gets somebody else there within the featherweight division. But just a stay busy fight for him to keep him active, keep him sharp. So good for him. It's over in Ireland. Should be a fun atmosphere. Jamie Conlon will be facing Jawan Ancansea for Jawan's IBF Junior Bantamweight Championship. So Jamie Conlon is somebody they have a lot of praise for over there in the UK. They think he's going to do big things. So he's going to get an opportunity to challenge for a title here on Saturday. So, that's your fights for Saturday this weekend. I mean, Frampton may be the most interesting to see. So it's a showcase bout for him. He should look good. But really, in all honesty, the Julian Williams-Ishe Smith fight, it is interesting for the simple fact of these guys need this. Loser, especially if it's Ishe Smith, the loser, they're in a tough spot. For Ishe Smith, he can't afford it at age 39, first fight in 14 months. Julian Williams definitely couldn't afford another knockout loss because that would be 2 in his last 3 fights. People are going to start questioning his chin. We'll see. We'll see if we can even see it since it is on Bounce TV. Don't let me get started on that rant. I'll save that for another day. So, like I said, it's time for me to go on a couple of rants here today. With that being stated, since I am feeling better, it's time to crack open a can of Modelo. Shout out to Modelo. Still haven't sponsored me yet, but we're going to get that worked out. Oh, no. Well, since I was, before I forget here, we did the Punch to Face radio poll in regards to what was the most boring fight Let me rephrase that. So we put up the poll here every week. We're doing Punch to Face Radio. You can always vote on the poll by following me on Twitter if you don't. Brandon P2TF on Twitter. The poll was put up as to what was the most who was more disappointing over the weekend in regards to the action we saw. So you had four choices. You had Daniel Jacobs. We thought it could be a showcase bout for him. You had Luis Arias. You had Darrell Big Baby Miller. And then you had Notre Dame football, because Notre Dame football laid a giant egg against the Miami Hurricanes. It was also going on at the same time here on Saturday. So the results went as following. With 13% of the vote, Darrell Big Baby Miller. A lot of people were disappointed in him. Tied at 27% each, Daniel Jacobs and Notre Dame football. Honestly thought Notre Dame football was going to win this. Surprised. But with 33% of the votes, goes to Luis Arias as being the most disappointing of the weekend. So, unfortunately for that, I got to do this. We can't talk the talk if we can't walk the walk. So, I'll leave it at that. So, I kind of like these parts of the show because I can rant. It is my show. I can really rant whenever. But certain things get underneath my skin to where I gotta take shots at people. I gotta load the ammunition. I gotta and unfortunately, one of the targets of that tonight, because there's going to be another one here a little bit later. One of the targets of that tonight is a Hall of Famer, a true professional, and I don't know what to say. Let me rephrase that. Let me backtrack this. A Hall of Fame fighter, Olympian, promoter. He's done a lot of good things in the sport, man. He's done some wacky things outside, whatever. But what irritates me to no end, and people know my thought process on this from even when this was being talked about, happening with Floyd Mayweather, is the Conor McGregor talk. So I'm going to play an audio clip, and then I'm going to explain what you're listening to. So here's an audio clip of Oscar De La Hoya here on Monday on Golden Boys Radio Show.
I still have it in me. I've been secretly training, bro.
I can see you look great.
Secretly training, bro. I'm faster than ever. I'm stronger than ever. I know I can take out Conor McGregor in 2 rounds.
Wow.
I'll come back for that fight.
Wait a minute. So let me just get this right. Let me get this. Let me gasp this. Let me gasp this properly. Oscar De La Hoya, are you saying that you are coming back for one more fight? And
one more.
Possibly you're calling out Conor McGregor?
I'm calling him out. 2 rounds.
Wow.
That's all I need. I still.
Excuse me. Got a little choked up there. So, let me first explain where that audio came from and why I say don't read much into it. The audio came from Golden Boy's debut radio show, Tattoo and Crew, that Golden Boy launched. Pretty much like it's a podcast with pretty much just more money behind it. Let's just call it what it is. So Oscar was their first guest, which makes sense. It's Golden Boy Radio, Golden Boy Boxing. Hell, why not have the Golden Boy himself on the show? I get it. I want people, if you have the opportunity, to Google this interview and look at Oscar De La Hoya's face when he says, "I'm secretly training, bro." Let's hear that again.
I still have it in me. I've been secretly training, bro.
I can see you look great.
Secretly training, bro. I'm faster than ever.
Secretly training, bro. Now, Oscar De La Hoya has had a lot of interesting things outside of the ring. We know he has battled addiction. We know he's had his issues with that. He's done a lot of wacky things. This is some dumb shit. Like this kind of is it. Now, the reason why I say that is this. Now, I understand the context of it. Oscar's not secretly training, bro. Now, he's not anywhere secretly training. Don't remotely believe that. He does still work out and stay in shape, but he's not secretly training anything. And also understand that, he wants to say something controversial and something to get the people talking, get them buzzing in hopes of gaining that attention and gaining those listeners for this radio show the Golden Boy launched. I know how this stuff works. I do it every week, every Wednesday. You say something crazy in hopes of people getting a wind of it and wanting to listen to more of it. These things happen. It's called radio. That's how you promote. Promotion is, whether they're talking about you good or bad, promotion is promotion. And that's the direction that may go with that. Because Oscar said it, he's now hoping, somebody listens to next week's show, the Golden Boy Radio puts on, because you don't know who else could stop by and say something crazy, which was what Oscar did there. Now, if you believe that at his age that somehow he is faster than ever and stronger than ever, you're on the same shit that he is on. And I'm not saying what he's on, but you know what he used to be on. There is no way in hell that a man that age is going to be faster, be stronger than what he was as an active boxer. Now, keep in mind, Oscar De La Hoya hasn't fought in almost 10 years when he quit on his stool versus Manny Pacquiao. So you're trying to tell me, Oscar, at age 44, that you are stronger and faster than ever, and that's after taking off nearly 10 years. It'll be 9 years come December 6th since his last fight when he fought Manny Pacquiao and retired on his stool. I can't take that serious. And I can't take Oscar serious as a promoter when you constantly have to bring up an MMA fighter's name to promote. Stop it. This is the same Oscar De La Hoya who had literally weeks before, or the week of, maybe it was a week of or the week before, Mayweather McGregor wrote an open letter to boxing fans and to media to not watch the fight, to not cover the fight. But then on the same token, months later, after you see all the money this fight generated, all the pay-per-view buys it allegedly generated, you're saying, hey, I can fight Conor. I can knock him out in 2 rounds. Why, Oscar? Why now? Why the complete turn of face? Why do you now want Canelo to fight McGregor? Why do you want this? You were calling everything a circus, a shot show, a freak show. It was bad for boxing. But now all of a sudden it's a good idea because Golden Boy wants to be involved? Like, tell me what I'm missing here, people. If I'm missing something here with this and the hypocrisy that's being a part of this, please let me know. Like, let me know what I'm missing here, because I think I may be missing something here. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe I'm just still doped up on cold medicine from the last month or so, that everything that I hear recently is just clogging my ears and I just don't understand it. It's not getting to my head for me to wrap my head around. But I can say this. It's utter bullshit for Oscar De La Hoya at age 44, 9 years out of the ring, to say I'm stronger and faster than ever. It's bullshit for Oscar De La Hoya to say, hey, I can knock Conor McGregor out in 2 rounds. No. I don't like Conor McGregor as a boxer. I think he's quite honestly shitty. But hell, even I'll give him credit and say he's not going to go down easy in 2 rounds. That ain't happening. He's too prideful. You'd have to kill him. He's not going to go easily out in 2 rounds. Won't happen. So for Oscar to say that, I'm speechless behind this. I'm just utterly speechless behind this. I just don't know. So I'm just waiting for Conor McGregor to come out.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Yeah, I agree with you, Conor. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know. Now, to get off that rant about Oscar, let me rant about something Oscar has his hands in. And I'm not going to completely blame him for this one because I can't fault Golden Boy, but I got to blame somebody. And Golden Boy, you're running the conference call. So this afternoon I was a part of Cotto Saddam Ali conference call. And for anybody who knows anything about conference calls, that boxing media, we all get these emails, we can call in, we get our names, we press *1, we get in the queue to ask a question. The conference calls typically work this way. Caller comes on, asks a question or two, says thank you for your time, and gets off the air to the next person. Unfortunately, 90% of the time it never happens that way. And today was one of those, part of 90% that it didn't happen that way. And I'm pissed because Dan Rayfield of ESPN, and I'm going to call him out by name here on the show. He blocks me on Twitter anyways, like he's going to find out. And if anyone wants to pass him the link, feel free so he can know how I feel. So Dan Rayfield of ESPN, who easily has more access to these fighters than myself and a lot of other bloggers, writers combined. He has ESPN behind him. He'll be in New York Fight Week. Pretty sure he can make a call and he can do a telephone interview with any of the parties involved in this bout at any time. So I fought Golden Boy because he was the first one in queue. And it's like this every time in a call. If he's not the first one on queue, it's someone from Ring Magazine who's the first one on queue. And after them, it's vice versa. So if Dan goes first, Ring Magazine goes second. If Ring goes first, Dan goes second. And it's bullshit. Now, I appreciate the opportunity to be on the calls and listening to some of the questions, but here's why today truly agitated me. So Dan got to come on first and ask questions. He took 5 to 10 minutes asking questions, probing questions, and we all sat on the phone and were polite about it. And he literally asked questions to Saddam, to Miguel, Freddie Roach. I want to say he asked one to Oscar, because Oscar was on the call as well. Only person who didn't show up was Andre Rozier. Guess he was too busy opening all that Daniel Jacobs fan mail from over the weekend, because he's also Jacobs' trainer. But that's neither here nor there. So Dan gets on, asks his questions, eats a lot of time. He's used to eating, so whatever. And he gets off. And then we have other people call on. Some were very polite and respectful of the other people on here only asking one question. We had others who asked numerous questions and more questions. But here's what got me. So the moderator comes on and says, we're going to have our last call. And it's Dan Rayfield again from ESPN. They let him back in the queue above other people who I know had pressed *1 to ask a question. He ended up getting that privilege over the rest of us. Now, boxing has a tradition of not letting the new guard in. And boxing media and promoters don't want to let us new guard in. They feel us bloggers, we don't do enough work. We didn't go to schooling for this. We haven't earned our stripes. So they try to block us out as much as they can. But that time is coming to an end because they're getting old and they're getting washed and they're getting pushed aside because we can get closer to the boxers. We befriend the boxers more than they can. And we have, more platforms to put them on maybe a smaller scale, but when you think about it, more of an accessible scale. With people being able to listen to their interviews on iTunes readily easy and can look to YouTube. They're not going on reading an article on ESPN. They can listen to the audio on the go instead of reading the shit online. So, Dan comes on. He's the last person to ask questions. This time, Dan doesn't take just 5, 10 minutes. It's like he's talking for full 15. He's asking Miguel Cotto questions, literally the same question over and over again, and Miguel's not giving him the answer he wants. And then he says, well, in my opinion, I think it's so-and-so and so-and-so. And you can tell by Miguel Cotto's response, Miguel was like, dude, fuck out of here. This is why Dan Rafael needs to go. He needs to go far away. I don't care where he goes. He needs to go away. He's not good for boxing. I've yet to see anything tangible he has done to where I can say, wow, that's great work. I've never seen that out of him. And I'm not being a hater. I'm not being jealous of his platform, of his status. I'm being truthful. I've never seen anything that he has done that anyone else couldn't do and do better. I've never seen it. So, from my perspective, I don't ever want to see him again. I don't want to hear about him again. Now, people may get pissy and say, oh, you shouldn't be taking shots at him. He deserves it because he's being greedy with this opportunity that he has, and he's blocking opportunities for us other writers and other people who don't have access like this. So I wanted to get that off my chest as a part of Brandon's rant. I think we're going to start having these every week as a Brandon rant. So that was my rant this week. Now, let me close talking about some MMA. And this was probably not going to set well with a lot of people either, but hey, it's my show. This is what we do. So I don't talk much about MMA anymore because, quite honestly, MMA is starting to annoy me. There's a lot of things in MMA that annoy the shit out of me. Unfortunately, Bellator, MMA, they've done a lot of weird stuff this past week. None of it I agree with. All of it I question. Let's start with the re-signing of Quentin Rampage Jackson. Now, Bellator re-signed Quentin Rampage Jackson here to a multi-fight deal last week. So he is now signed back on with Bellator to be a part of Bellator MMA. Now, he didn't know until it was brought up to him after he signed his contract that he is now going to be a part of the heavyweight Grand Prix. And needless to say, anybody who knows Rampage knows that he's kind of used to getting things his way. He wasn't in the least bit happy about being a part of a Grand Prix for starters and then potentially being able to fight a friend of his in Chael Sonnen. We'll touch on the Grand Prix here in a moment. So this is why this is so Bellator. You have your a fighter in Quentin Rampage Jackson who can be, he's still a very viable guy. People know his name recognition, but you're also signing a guy who just seems he's just there to get a paycheck. I said he was washed, and I stand by that comment. If anyone has seen his last few fights, he just doesn't. He just doesn't look like he. I don't want to say he doesn't care, but it just doesn't seem like it's not the Rampage that we saw 10 years ago, which we're not going to see from 10 years ago because this happens with fighters. You get old, you diminish. He is coming off of a loss here to King Mo back in May. He won a couple of the fights before that, but they were very lackluster. They weren't overly spectacular. He had his issues with the contract with Bellator, went over and fought a fight in the UFC, then came back to Bellator, fought his last fight against King Mo in May. We thought he was going to retire or go to Japan, but here he is back with Bellator in a multi-fight contract. So there's the first weird thing that Bellator did. The next weird thing they did is they signed a pro wrestler with no MMA experience. Now, if you're familiar with them, in which I am vaguely familiar with the name, pro wrestler by the name of Jack Swagger, when he wrestled for the WWE, the real name of Jake Hager, is now signed to a fight deal with Bellator. Now, Jake has yet to ever fight an MMA fight. Now, he did wrestle back in college, I want to say. Let me see what they say here. Yeah, I guess he wrestled in college in high school, but pretty much all they talked about in the email they sent to us was his pro wrestling resume and winning championships in the WWE. Wrestling is predetermined. Like, really? That's the best you can do? So they signed a 35-year-old guy to fight in, I'm assuming, their heavyweight division. So we'll see what division he ends up actually going in. Now, I mean, he actually was an All-American wrestler at Oklahoma. He did set the record for most pins at 285 in the 285-pound weight class in a single season with 30. So he was an All-American at Oklahoma. So, all right, he was a legitimate college wrestler, but that was over 15 years ago, close to. And now he's going to pro wrestle. All right, whatever. So that was the second weird thing they've done. The third, and this one's just weird. So there is a 8-man Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix that Bellator is planning on throwing at some juncture in 2018. They don't have a hard date for it. They don't know when it's going to happen, but it's slated to happen here in 2018. Now, the 8 men who are part of this card are pretty much a lot of names that you're going to be extremely familiar with in the world of mixed martial arts. So you have names like Fedor Emelianenko, Matt Mitrione, Chael Sonnen, the before-mentioned Quentin Rampage Jackson, Frank Mir, Roy Nelson, King Mo Lawal, and Ryan Bader. So those are 8 men who will be competing in the Heavyweight Grand Prix. I've already explained to you here with Rampage Jackson, but I'm just going to go down the line here, and then you'll understand why I'm saying this. So let's start with Fedor Emelianenko. Fedor Emelianenko is currently 41 years old. He's coming off of a TKO loss here to Matt Mitrione this past June in Bellator, New York. Prior to that, he had a very sloppy fight against Fabiano Maldonado in a fight he really should have been stopped in, but the referee showed mercy, didn't stop it. He ended up getting a gift on the cards and winning the fight there. But again, Fedor Emelianenko is 41. Matt Mitrione, maybe the guy shouldn't even be fighting the Grand Prix. He should be fighting one of these guys for the heavyweight title for Bellator. Whatever. He is a winner of 3 straight fights here in Bellator. All of those wins coming via knockout or KO. As coming off of him having a long run with the UFC. His last loss there was a very controversial one to Travis Brown after eye pokes and his eye getting swollen up. So Matt Mitrione, 39 years old, winner of 3 straight here since signing Bellator. Chael Sonnen is 40. Chael Sonnen has fought at middleweight. He's fought at light heavyweight. And I guess he's apparently going to be now fighting at heavyweight. Chael Sonnen is coming off a unanimous decision win against Wanderlei Silva, also here in June at Bellator, New York. That was his first win in almost 4 years. Keep in mind, 2 of those years he was suspended for PEDs. He will say he's retired. He was suspended for PED testing. First win against Wanderlei Silva, unanimous decision in 4 years. Very lackluster bout, very boring bout, very just not good. Just kind of showed that Chael Sonnen's skills have truly diminished now at age 40. The aforementioned Quentin Rampage Jackson, 39 years old. He is coming off of a loss to King Mo in May. That fight was a catchweight fight. According to Quentin Rampage Jackson, he has a thyroid issue now to where he can't cut the weight to fight at 205 pounds anymore. From here on out, he'll be fighting at heavyweight. He'll be fighting above 205. He did win a couple of fights before that loss to King Mo. But again, he generally didn't look good in those fights. Really didn't look good against King Mo either. Frank Mir, 38 years old. He's coming off of back-to-back losses. He was released by the UFC here in July after a failed PED test in March of 2016 after a fight with Mark Hunt. He claimed that the failed test was due to tainted meat he'd eaten while in Australia. So he was subsequently suspended for a year, I guess. I really don't know what the hell happened with that. But he ended up getting released from his UFC contract in July. In August, he signed with Bellator. Again, Frank Mir, 38 years old. Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson is a new Bellator signee. He won his first fight out with here at Bellator. I think in the last month and a half ago, he made his Bellator debut. He won He hasn't won back-to-back fights since 2013. So we're talking about here over 4 years since him actually winning consecutive fights in a row. Unfortunately, during that time span, he has lost consecutive fights in a row. What does he have left in the tank at age 41? We'll see. King Mo Luwal. Now, King Mo is a guy I like. I have a lot of respect for, friends with via social media. King Mo is 36 years old. The problem with King Mo is he's often injured. He gets nicked up a lot in training camp. He had to drop out of a fight here recently. I want to say he was going to be fighting Phil Davis or Ryan Bader, but he was going to get a title shot, but ended up having to drop out due to injury there in the light heavyweight division. We know he's also gotten hurt when he was a part of the Bellator light heavyweight tournament, and he ended up getting hurt and unable to fight in the championship fight of that Grand Prix. Lord knows what will happen here with this one, 8-man tournament. So King Mo, 36 years old. Maybe the strangest one of them all is current light heavyweight champion Ryan Bader. Now, Ryan Bader is currently the light heavyweight champion for Bellator. He just made a defense of the title here within the last 3 weeks. Now, all of a sudden, he's actually going to be he's now going to be part of a heavyweight tournament. So he could be the 2-division champion for Bellator. I don't know how to really think of that, but for Bader, he's won a couple of fights now underneath Bellator. I think he's actually got a pretty decent win streak even going from coming over to Bellator from the UFC. Yeah, he's currently riding a 4-fight win streak. That's a split decision win over Phil Davis back in June at Bellator, New York, and then he defeated Linton Vasile via TKO here just this past November 3rd. But he is 34. So the reason why I want to say everyone's ages was for this reason. The average age of these 8 competitors in Bellator's Grand Prix is 38 and a half years old. You have fighters who are 38 and a half years old fighting in a Grand Prix tournament. This goes to show you in today's MMA, not just for Bellator, but in MMA as a whole, the heavyweight division is the thinnest division there is, period. When we're recycling fighters who are so old, who are so long in the tooth, who have little to no tread left on them, there's no reason in the world at 41 we should be parading for Fedor Emelianenko still out there and trying to tote him as being one of the best heavyweights in the world. He's not. Even with the heavyweight division being as thin as it is, he's not the best heavyweight in the world. I don't even know if I'd put him in the top 10. Probably isn't in the top 10 anymore. He just isn't. You know, age catches up to everyone. You know, Father Time is undefeated in sports. You know, Matt Mitrione is a guy at 39, you know, father of a football career. I think he's got tread left on the tires. I just think he's kind of being put in a raw deal, having to be a part of a Grand Prix to win a title because, truth be told, he is the best heavyweight they have on their roster. Chael Sonnen at age 40, like I said, he hadn't looked good at all in that Vanderlei Silva fight. It was awful. It was a garbage fight. And now all of a sudden, you know, it's a guy who's fought at light heavyweight, middleweight, and now all of a sudden he's going to be fighting at heavyweight. I'm not sure about that one. Rampage Jackson, we don't know what his motivation is anymore to even fight. Frank Mir hasn't fought in over a year. It's going to be over a year and a half, actually, maybe even close to 2 years, depending on when the Grand Prix happens, for Frank Mir to fight. And he's 38 years old. What does he have left? Roy Nelson at 41, what does he have left? Like I said, King Mo, can he even stay healthy to perform in a tournament? And then there's Ryan Bader, who's, you know, the middleweight, light heavyweight champion, who's just kind of like, hey, I'm just here. I don't get it. Again, this is another thing that leaves me puzzled. I just don't understand what Bellator is doing, what Bellator sees the point in this. You know, you put a bunch of guys with name recognition in a tournament, and you hope everyone watches. That's all this is. This isn't about truly trying to find the best heavyweight there amongst your ranks. You know, they're not even trying. They're not even trying to find guys on the, you know, out there who may be unfounded prospects in the heavyweight division. They're not even trying to do that. That's not an option for them. They're going out and they're rehashing old guys. And that's all it is. There's been talks of them even signing Chuck Liddell. Hasn't fought in years. Again, they're rehashing things that don't need to be hashed. And it's a shame that they're doing this. That they think this is the route to go. That they think this is the way to contend, the way to be relevant in MMA. And you look at I'm looking at Bellator's roster right now, and there's not a lot there in the heavyweight division. You had Bobby Lashley there. Why is he not a part of the tournament? Sergey Korotanov, why is he not a part of it? Jay Avila, why is he not a part of it? Why not have Tyler Fortune be a part of it? Why not, why not Chet Congo? Why not Justin Wren? You kind of got to wonder, why are they making light heavyweights move up, and especially your champion, you have your champion move up and fight a fight he may not need to fight. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Just another sign of just Bellator being Bellator. I'm just, every stride they take to go forward, to do something great, they do something like this. The sad part is people will watch it because people like watching train wrecks. They like watching freak shows. We've seen that when Kimbo Slice fought Dead A3000. We saw that with Ken Shamrock fighting Race Gracie. We saw that with any fight Tito Ortiz was a part of there in Bellator. They'll watch weird matchups and these circus freak shows to get ratings. And I just can't do it. I'm so past it anymore with MMA and with Bellator that the Grand Prix just doesn't make any sense to me. You don't have 8 heavyweights to put in a Grand Prix, so you hustle up and grab a bunch of light heavyweights. It just seems pointless to me. It seems extremely counterproductive to the product of MMA. But whatever. So, yeah, it is what it is. So, I don't know. That's the show for the night. Short show. Good deal. Next week is Thanksgiving week. We will be back here next Wednesday for another episode of Punch to the Face Radio. No clue what next week's show will be about, but I do know we will preview Sergey Kovalev making his return. This is a bounce back. This is a big money fight for him, man. And I mean that not in regards to how much money he's going to make, but in a money fight of him being able to make money in the future. This is a must-win fight he has against Shabransky here next Saturday. So we'll definitely talk about that in regards to what Sergey Kovalev's mindset is going to be going into the bout. With that being stated, make sure if you're listening to the show, you're a first-time listener, thank you for listening in. But make sure you follow me on Twitter, and that is at BrandonP2TF on Twitter. Make sure you also follow the co-host, Adam Abramowitz at SN Boxing. Also visit his website, SaturdayNightBoxing.com. He's actually going to have an article up here in the next 24 to 48 hours talking about the wide open light heavyweight division in boxing. 175 is wide open, so he's going to have a story about that. I strongly encourage you to read on SaturdayNightBoxing.com. And also, if you're on Facebook, join the group where we say a lot of completely unnecessary things on the Saturday Night Boxing group. So follow us on Facebook at SN Boxing on Facebook. You go to punchtheface.com. You can listen to any episodes of the show that you've missed. The podcasts are posted there. You can also catch the podcast on iTunes by searching Punch the Face Radio. You can also find the shows on Stitcher Radio by searching Punch the Face Radio. And lastly, you can also find the shows on iTunes by searching, you guessed it, Punch the Face Radio. And it's always the number 2, not the word 2. So Punch to the Face Radio. That's where I'm at. That's where you can find me. That's where I be at, talking my talk. So, with that being stated, as I say, as always, and it seems to it's always something crazy going on in the world. So I say this at the end of every show. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, love one another, because that's the only way we're going to get through this. I appreciate my voice holding up here the whole show. Until next week, I am Brandon Stubbs, and I'm out.
Beterbiev, you know, I still have it in me, you know. I've been secretly training, bro.
I can see you look great.
Secretly training, bro. I'm faster than ever. I'm stronger than ever. I know I can take out Conor McGregor in 2 rounds.
Wow.
Wow. I'll come back.